Good afternoon, or whatever time of day you're on. Welcome to the KD Weight Loss Podcast. I'm Callum. Thank you very much for tuning in. So, this one is actually taken from a client story recently. Um, Basically, I wrote an email on this the other week, and I titled it "Why I Lowered." This is why I lowered her protein, and it goes against the grain because most all you hear on Instagram, and again, I'm guilty for doing it myself, is higher protein this, high protein that, higher protein this, and it's boring. We all know we need to do it, and it's almost like if someone tells you to do it, you kind of think, "Fuck it, I don't want to do it." Sometimes, or at least that's how ADHD brains and autism brains. Well, I was going to say PhD there for fuck's fuck no, why am I doing that? But this is the point. This was email that actually landed. It's one of my most opened emails I've had and spent the most read time I've had on my list. If you're not on my email list, by the way, make sure you drop a comment below with the word email. I'll add you to it because I send out exclusive emails that I don't actually talk about with on Instagram or the podcast. My best ones do come to my podcast because I want to share a wee bit more. But basically, this is about my client Jay and how basically she had a fucking week from hell and transformed this into a week where she learned a wee bit something about herself. Because she's been coached before, she's strength trained a lot before, she knows the ropes. This me coaching her actually isn't anything she doesn't know, but it's navigating a lot of food guilt with her. Worried that when she eats out, she's going to spoil it, or she's overdoing it a wee bit at the moment, or having to always to depend her worth on the scale. She's one of those types of women. So much so that what we're actually doing now, she's just away on holiday at the moment, but what we've been doing recently with her is we actually stopped her weighing in on the scales consistently. So I usually use daily weigh-ins. They're very, very useful for most women. This client, her weight was not very informative. She was losing lots of inches, but there was no real change to the scales in terms of like massive trends. And it was actually causing her to not see the work she was achieving. So she was not seeing the work she was getting in terms of changes in her photos, the changes in her measures, how much stronger she was getting. And I'll share more of this as we go through this. But this is one incident from a particularly hard week she had, and where she was just feeling like she just wanted to get a little bit more snacky. The one thing I know of all women, and it's common, and I don't think, I mean, the amount of times I hear this statement that they feel crazy for it, it breaks my heart because when women talk about how much they can sometimes think about food, I'm like, I feel so sorry that you've been made to feel that you're crazy sometimes because you're not crazy. There's so many things that influence cravings and hunger and stuff like that, from the way you've been brought up, from your hormones if you're coming up to menopause, from your actual eating behavior. There's loads of different things, whether it be physical, whether it be mental or emotional, loads of different angles to this. So this is a really good insight to talk about today. So this is how I told my clients to eat less protein and to eat more snacks. Very counterintuitive, very against what most coaches would tell you, but by the end of this, you'll understand why I told her to do this and how this actually helped her achieve her new lowest weight, which she just did before she went on holiday, by the way. Jay, it says Miss J here. I get ChatGPT to help me write my episodes. I tell it what I want to do, so I ain't gonna lie to you on that regard. But I can't organise my thoughts half the time. I'm like, this is what I know. This is what I want to share. Please help me. Please help me organise my thoughts. So, a couple of bit of backstory. Jay is, I'm trying not to say it. Jay is a nurse. She's also type 1 diabetic. So type 1 diabetic, if you don't know, is someone who is born without insulin. Their pancreas cannot secrete insulin, so therefore it can't control her blood sugar, so she has to manually do that with the use of insulin. Obviously the old school style was using injections. Nowadays there's a lot of like electronics involved in that, a little bit of stuff there. And on this particular week, I believe she had 2 hypos. I think she might have had a third, but as of writing this, she had 2. She's working nights as a nurse on a night shift. She's type 1 diabetic, and she's just had 2 hypos in 2 days, potentially a third one as well. This woman deserves her fair share of, this week ain't it, take it fucking easy. This is why it's about dialing it back, and everyone's different. Some people, that's them wiped for the week. This woman is very, very different. She likes her training, it's very valuable, it keeps her grounded, it's a big part of her life. But her food also is as well, and she has a big social life, and including food in that is important to her. So the message she sent me on that week was, I quote, "Feeling very peckish today, lol, just want to not eat not protein foods," close quote. How many of you can relate to that statement? You just don't want to eat the protein foods today. Whether it be at breakfast, whether it be at lunch, whether it be at dinner, whether it be those protein bars, whether it be the shakes, I want fucking good food today. I want the sweets, I want the biscuits, I want the crisp, I want it all. Whether you're menopausal, whether you're not, I'm sure you can relate to this. And it's a very normal feeling. But it's even more of a normal feeling, especially if you're similar in terms of how Jay works. So on night shifts, you're gonna have broken sleep. You're breaking your sleep schedule. So we have we have a normal sleep cycle where our body is trained to sleep at similar times and wake at similar times. That affects our hunger. Being awake later, your body gets more signals from hormones, from things with ghrelin and leptin. One makes you more hungrier. The other one stops you feeling fuller when you eat. So they're increased as well. So then you struggle more there. There's loads of different issues that happen just by doing the night shift. Taking out the hypos. Then when you have a hypo on top of that, your craving and your drive for sugary foods goes through the roof because a hypo is low blood sugar. Your body is literally saying, I need sugary food. It is telling you to get what you need to survive. Obviously, she uses different strategies from what she's learned over her years of having diabetes to challenge that, but that is still a craving, both physically and probably mentally as well. So it's a very hard feeling. It's a very hard experience to go through being her. And this is kind of what the traditional coaching approach would be to this, and it's something I absolutely disagree with. And there's so many things I disagree with in coaching. Tough love is not what I agree with. I think it's bullshit. I think people use it as a way to say, I'll tell you what you need to fucking hear. Yeah, sure, sometimes so will I. But I'm not going to just fucking tell them to suck it up half the time, because so many coaches I know, you just need to do it. You just need to do the work. Yeah, sometimes they do. But sometimes in order to do that, you need to be able to bitch and whine and get all your problems off your shoulders, because you're carrying a family. You're carrying your own stress. You're carrying your kids' stress. You're carrying your work stress. You're trying to have a social life. You're trying to maintain your body image. You're trying to do all this shit. And then you're told just to get on with it and carry on cooking the meals for everyone in the house as well as yourself. Yeah, it doesn't work. Most coaches would be push harder, train a little bit harder in the gym, get after it in the gym. It might distract you, do something like that. I'll just stick to your macros. You can do it. You got those numbers. Just eat those numbers. Eat a bit more protein. Eat some more fruits and veggies, and you can get through it. This is absolutely just ignoring and invalidating your feelings. It's not considering the fact that there is an emotional layer to this craving. There is a physical layer. You are hungry. You are wanting food. But there's an emotional part. When you feel maybe down, when you feel like you need to numb yourself, when you feel just uncomfortable or stressed, you want control. Food gives us that control. Sometimes this is where a craving comes from. It's a protection mechanism. And the reason why this grit mentality, again, I will nudge people sometimes to go get grit through it a little bit, but I'll do it in a way where I'm going to share with you later on. I've got a 3-question approach to allow you to do that. And again, assess whether the craving is something you're going to honour right now, or you're going to actually try and get through it. The reason this mentality doesn't work is the guilt. And I think every woman who listens to this knows exactly what I'm talking about. Name a food you like, that you ate, that you didn't choose to eat, but you somehow managed to it's disappeared off your desk, and you're like, oh my god, I didn't mean to do that, or I've overate, I wasn't meant to do that, and you almost felt out of control. And now you're like, oh shit, I've ruined everything. Oh my god, I've done so well earlier this week. Now I'm going to gain weight tomorrow. I'll go to Slimming World, and she's going to tell me I need to eat more free foods, and look at everyone's face when I've gained 3 pounds. You feel like you're lying to your coach potentially. You're like, oh no, I'm telling them I'm doing this, but I haven't. It's horrible. You have this guilt. It's called false guilt technically because you're not doing anything actually wrong, but you feel guilty and you carry on, and then you try to undo the damage. The way most women try to undo the damage is binge and restrict cycles. So basically what happens is they do a binge like this, so they kind of have something that made them feel guilty, and they'll either do one or two things. They'll either lean into it extremely and go, fuck, I might as well just have everything now because I've had that, and you know what, I'm going to gain weight anyway, so I might as well. And then it goes to McDonald's, then there goes the bag of crisps, then there goes the sweeties, and it's just attack. Or you go the other way and you have a massive guilt fest and you completely switch off and you don't eat and you stop yourself eating. You're like, I cannot eat bread, I can't eat that, I can't have chocolate, I can't have alcohol, I've got to miss a meal, I've got to do extra steps on the Stepmaster. You punish yourself, and then this just reinforces that guilt with negative actions that does not actually fix the problem. So you've been told to stick it out. You've now got this guilty sensation. You've done something that makes you feel like you deserve punishment. And now you have conditioned yourself for that to be the right answer. And you've not actually addressed why this problem has happened in the first place. This is where I challenge you to do things differently. So if you had this craving saying, I don't want to eat the protein foods today, what could you do to make this this non-perfect day? Because again, most of you are striving for perfection. And because it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. So this time, what if I told you, let's just make your perfect day, okay, that's not bad, let's just make it average. Or make your worst days a bit better. That's so much more manageable. Because why do we only have perfect and nothing at all? Where's the middle ground? You know, why don't we go from perfect to little less than perfect. Or why don't we go from average to above average? We're just improving it slightly, making your shit days a little less shit. That's the best way of putting it. So I told this client Jay, I told her to lower her protein target. So she typically eats 130 to 140 grams of protein a day. In maths terms, in protein calorie terms, so there's 4 calories per gram of protein. So 130 times, oh my god, times 2, 260. Oh my god, 260 times 2 is 520. So that's about 520 calories worth of protein, right? I told my client to hit 100 grams. It's an easy number, but it's 30 grams less, okay? So 100 grams would be 400 calories. So she's saving about 120 calories there just by eating less protein. If I'm honest, she could have eaten as low as 80 for all I care, right? And would have saved even more calories that way, right? So she would have saved an extra 80 calories, so nearly 200 calories. The point of this was, if you eat around about 100 grams of protein, typically you would have eaten some decent amount in your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner. And it's not massive portions. It's just having maybe a chicken breast at dinner, gives you about 40, 50. Having some form of protein at lunch, whether it be tuna, whether it be eggs, whether it be yogurt in there, whatever. And then same for your breakfast. You don't actually have to try that hard, especially when you're used to eating protein. Then, once you've hit just protein in your major meals, which is typically 100 grams of protein, there's lots more room in your calories just for snacks. And I'm not talking protein snacks, I'm not talking eggs, I'm not talking nuts, I'm not talking, all the protein bars, I'm talking fun snacks. This is literally what my client calls it. And if you see the Instagram post based on this, you'll see an example of it. And the point is to allow her, so she's allowed, and this is the narrative she's changing. So before, she had to hit her protein target, and then she was allowed to eat kind of within her calories after that. This was giving herself permission to have those fun snacks. The priority was to enjoy the more craving-like foods. What did she actually want to eat that day? By giving herself that permission, she's more likely to be okay with whatever consequence comes afterwards, okay? So one example I use of this is, because my counsellor taught me this, when I left my job in small group personal training, when the gym was flooded, so I basically knew that someone was going to become made redundant because they couldn't afford to keep us both. I chose to take voluntary redundancy. The reason being is if any negative consequences happened afterwards, the choice was mine. I made that choice, and psychology says that it's easier to deal with negative consequences if you take action and control the outcome yourself. Whereas if someone else had made that decision before me, you would then be more resentful if a negative consequence happened. So for her there, by choosing to have more fun snacks and allowing herself this, if she gained weight, which she probably wouldn't, if she gained weight, she'd be more okay with it and more willing to deal with those consequences because she had the choice and the power to make that decision. Versus if it accidentally happened, which happens with a lot of you feel guilty because you didn't have the control in the first place, and now you're like, oh my god, I didn't know, I wasn't able to stop myself, and there's blame and there's guilt, and it just spirals further. So that's a massive part of this, and the way you talk to yourself, it sounds wishy-washy as fuck, but the way you talk to yourself has way more of an impact than you realise. Allowing yourself, making a choice is a huge part of overcoming cravings, guilt-based behaviours with food, all those sorts of things. So here's just a bit of a background about cravings a bit more, okay? So we talked obviously about what I told her to do, to eat 100 grams, not 130, why we've done that, how we managed to go about it. The craving part of this is really, really important as well. So cravings themselves are really just physical. So people think craving just means you're hungry. There is a part of that, okay? But as I mentioned earlier, the lack of sleep that she had from her night shifts meant her hormones, her ghrelin and leptin, were messed up, okay? If I get this right, I think ghrelin's the one that makes you hungry, so your ghrelin increases. Leptin is the one that makes you feel full. That one decreases, so you feel less full, so you want to indulge in more. Plus, stress and all those other things make you want to comfort eat sometimes. It's very natural that when we're stressed and all that sort of thing, we'll go to food because it gives us pleasure. It gives us that dopamine hit. Because sometimes you just want a chocolate bar because it's been a shit day. So allow yourself that chocolate bar sometimes. And again, if you were in that moment of stress and you basically said, nope, I'm going to stick through it, when you didn't actually want to and the craving was really important to you, what would happen is you'd probably, and this is very common with the Monday to Friday sort of thing, so most women would go really well Monday to Friday, and then Friday hits and they have a chocolate bar or a wee takeout on the Friday, and then because they've had that, what happens is they continue to have more because they can't get enough, because they were fighting that craving so hard, it's now hitting them with a vengeance. If you allowed yourself to have a wee bit of something during the week, you might have avoided this intense barrage of cravings on the weekend. This was the same with my client here. By allowing herself to have those snacks and those enjoyable things, she was able to stop herself from spiraling later on and basically feeling more out of control. So giving herself that full permission to enjoy her food rather than negotiating was so important. So the way I get my clients typically to think about food cravings and to navigate them. So whenever you get a craving, the first thing you need to do is create time and space. It's the biggest thing because a craving feels intense, right? You have to acknowledge there's a craving there first. It sounds silly, but you have to be like, right, I'm craving something, right? Stop invalidating your feelings. Having the feeling does not mean you're a bad person. Does not make you wrong, okay? Just because you crave something, okay? You're a human being. Acknowledge your feelings, okay? They are real. But now creates time and space. You've got to create distance between you and the pain point, okay? I do this with 3 questions, okay? And if you answer these 3 questions, you'll learn and understand how you'll feel about having this food right now, understanding how your body physically feels, but then also how you'll feel afterwards, mentally and emotionally, which means you're addressing physical, mental, and emotional. All of these things, having the choice and the decision-making skills to then decide, okay? And this is something you should be using. So question 1, this is, sounds stupid, if I'm having a craving, I want my Whisper bar, right? Will I enjoy this? Simple. If yes, cool. That's part of the point. You want to actually acknowledge the fact you're going to enjoy this food. Because it sounds silly. We're so trained to be like, I shouldn't enjoy chocolate. I shouldn't enjoy biscuits. I shouldn't enjoy crisps. Why not? They're designed to taste fucking good. They make us feel good. Food is more than just a taste. Food is a feeling. Food is social life. Food is an experience for people. It's why we eat out. It's why we share friends with it. It's why we have events built around food. It's there to be enjoyed. So acknowledge the fact that will you enjoy this food? Yeah, good. Because if you enjoy it, that's going to be part of the reason of you making that choice in the first place. The second one is more about actually physical feelings. Am I actually hungry right now? And that's a very vital question because I might have a craving and not be hungry. I might crave food, but I'm not actually hungry. I might be bloated, right? And I get this a lot after dinner. I'm bloated as fuck. But I'm sitting there like, oh, I'd love a biscuit. I'm not hungry. So if I eat that, what is the consequence of that? I might feel sick. I might feel just really uncomfortable, get heartburn, indigestion. That sounds stupid to say that out loud, but acknowledging that might be like, oh, do you know what? I don't want to feel that way. Maybe I'll wait. And again, creating time and space, then the craving might deplete, and then you might not actually crave that food later on. But if you did, you can then allow yourself it. Do you see what I mean? So you're giving yourself space. It doesn't feel as much of a barrage on your body anymore. You could just be bored. You could be stressed. You could be overstimulated, or you could just not have slept enough. Being bored. How many times have you sat down at the TV and you're bone idle, and the first thing you do is grab food, right? The other way of testing this, right, and I do this, right, if there's a multi-bag of sweets, right, and I'm doing something else, I can be reaching into that without thinking, and I know you will be as well. So here's a way of doing it. Portion that out, okay? Or grab a small bag of something, okay? Because then you create a barrier. You have to get up and go get another thing. You have to go get up and get another thing. Or even better, don't eat something really easy to overeat whilst doing something that requires very little thought, like watching TV. Only eat when you're stopping and doing nothing. And again, it sounds very silly that you might have to do that. But again, if you can't control yourself at the moment, that might be the intervention you need to become aware and be like, oh, I'm going to eat some of my M&M's Crispies that I love. And then because I'm only doing that, okay, not even scrolling on TikTok, just because I'm only doing that, I'm like, oh, I've eaten probably half the bag now. You know what? I'm feeling quite satisfied. Then I stop. Whereas if you're watching TV, you can spend 20 to 30 minutes eating, which is plenty of time. How many times have you been to the cinema and you've devoured your drink or your popcorn or your sweets before the film's even fucking started? Because you're not checked in up here. So are you actually hungry? That's the second question. So first one, will I enjoy this? Second one, am I actually hungry? The third one, and this is probably the most important of them, how will I feel afterwards? This doesn't mean will I feel guilty. That's not what I'm asking here. I'm asking you more than just guilt here. It means will I feel satisfied? Will I feel numb? Will I feel in control? Will I feel bloated? Will I feel like I've actually taken control of my craving here? Acknowledging how you'll feel afterwards. Because if you feel guilty afterwards, right, okay, sometimes you are going earlier on, you're going to be always feeling guilty. So that's something to work on. But it's like, if I ate this right now, how would I feel afterwards? I'd be like, I'll be quite proud of myself. Because I remember there's a client I had years ago. I remember one of the check-ins she gave me in a message. She's like, I sat down in a coffee and I ordered a bit of cake and a coffee and she didn't cry. And it sounds so sad to say something like that. But I was fucking buzzing for her because she was able to go out, have a coffee and a cake and not freak out. Like, how rewarding would that be? This client, Jay, who I've been talking about today, she went and got some acai bowls however you pronounce the bloody thing, acai bowls the other week, twice in a row in 2 days, and she felt guilty for this. And I said to her, I was like, look, this an acai bowl versus, I don't know, a double McDonald's breakfast, there's a bit of a difference. There's some fruits and some seeds in this one, okay? There's actually some good health bases here. Yes, there's some calorific bits, like maybe some of the sauces. I was like, maybe don't have the sauce. Maybe ask for it on the side. Maybe just take a bit of the sauce. You know, there's layers of doing this. But I said to her, if you want to enjoy the whole thing, enjoy the whole thing. But there's layers to this. Do you know what I mean? So appreciate how you'll feel afterwards. So when you're navigating cravings, whether you're like Jay in this example, or whether you're not, 3 questions. Will I enjoy this? Am I actually hungry? And how will I feel afterwards? Because then if you answer those questions, yeah, I'll enjoy it. Yeah, I'm actually hungry. And do you know what? I'll feel a wee bit better afterwards. Fucking have it. There'll be mixtures and different results, and you might be like, oh, I don't know whether I should have it. Even that itself, creating that stop, right, is very, very valuable. You might then still be able to make a positive choice and be like, yeah, I'll have it. Or you might be like, I don't know if I want it anymore. Whatever you decide, that's all that matters. That you made a decision, not that you did or you did not have the craving, the snack. All right. And look, this is what Jay actually had that day. She had some tortilla chips, she had a cinnamon roll, she had a Whisper, she had some biscuits. In total, she had about 400 to 500 calories worth of extra snacks that day. Did she gain weight? Nope. Because she literally texted me the other day, just before she went on holiday, that she reached her lowest weight whilst being on her period since we started working together. Bear in mind, this woman has lost over 40 centimetres in 2 months. Absolutely fantastic work. Wearing clothes to the gym, she's not ever dreamed of wearing before, like shorter, more skinnier fitting tops, rather than like baggy tops that cover up, all that are black, that are slimming and stuff like that. She's actually wearing clothes she's more confident to wear. And just giving her that confidence has been such a rewarding thing, because this person's followed me for a couple of years. We've only recently just started working together. It's been so brilliant just to see her journey, because I know she's strong. I know she knows roughly what to do in terms of eating, but it's this mindset part, this food guilt behaviours, the fact she's overcoming these slowly it's such a proud moment for me, and it's really nice for me to see her make that big progression, because we're talking about eventually coming away from tracking altogether and increasing her initially to her maintenance calories, teaching her how to build a body, get stronger, get more muscular, like that toned look women actually want, which has a frame of muscle underneath it. We're teaching her how to do that. But that's encouraging her to eat more and showing her how it feels. Because, again, how you feel when you're eating more, you'll be surprised at how much better you feel. Because women are so conditioned to only eat less and make themselves smaller. And Jay finished with this comment. This was a quote, so I quote, "You've been honestly so helpful. It's been nice this week, still trying to hit 100 grams of protein, but allowing myself to relax snacks-wise." Perfect. Her nutrition should be able to be flexible when life gets hard, especially when she does day shifts and night shifts. It's going to be different every week. And we've already told you, she's already spoke to me and we've worked together. Night shifts are fucking harder, let alone without her diabetes kicking in. Progress for her is now being able to eat snacks guilt-free, staying grounded and making actual choices for that. And this is probably the biggest take home of all of this. Less perfect does not mean you're not doing the work. Let's try that again. Bloody hell. Less perfect does not mean it's ineffective. Being less perfect shows you're actually probably making more progress. You need to be better at being less perfect, because then it's not an on and off switch, it's more of a dimmer switch. So I guess I'll leave you with these little reflection questions. This might help you in the future. So if you're struggling with cravings right now, right, ask yourself this. What would easing off my expectations look like this week? So less pressure, less perfection, less intensity. What would that look like? So rather than eating perfect protein every day, why not have a protein range? Rather than 130 every day, why not have 100 to 130? So you've got a minimum and a higher target, optimal target we call it. All right. Or you could go with behavior-based tracking. I want to have protein at each meal and I want to have one protein snack. Can you allow some snacks on purpose instead of fighting them? So if you're someone who never plans in to have a chocolate bar, a bag of crisps, some biscuits, or something like that, and you just react and have snacks, why not plan something you actually like and enjoy, like your favourite thing in each week? My favourite example of this is a client I had before I started especially working with women was Gareth. He won't mind me saying this. He would have a Yorkie bar every single day because that kept him grounded. I can eat my breakfast, my lunch and my dinner, but as long as I get that Yorkie bar, I don't give a fuck. When I used to do kickboxing, I was the same. My crunchy bar was the thing I went to. As long as I had that, the rest was easy. That's honouring the cravings with the right permission and the right attitudes. And then the last question, I guess, am I trying to be perfect because I think it's the only way to see results? I guarantee you now, you're not deliberately trying to be perfect, but you believe that's the only way to keep control and to see progress. And you feel like anytime you fail, you're not failing, you're just having a normal bump like most of us have. But when you feel like you fail, you feel like you can't do this anymore. The truth for this is you haven't got the right support to help you stick in that pain long enough to see that you can actually make progress even when you have a slip up. It's not a slip up, but you know what I mean. It's not about nailing every single macronutrient, the perfect protein, the perfect carbs, the perfect fat. It's about managing your worst days that little bit better. So look, if you've enjoyed this podcast, I'll just ask you one thing, a couple of things. Make sure you follow the podcast. It sounds stupid, but make sure you follow it because it'll let you know when new episodes are available. I'm trying to do this once a week at least. I've also got a new guest coming on in future weeks. Rachel, she actually was on my mental health podcast a few years ago. People absolutely loved her. She's brilliant. So female-based coach, similar age to myself. We've worked together a handful of times. We also know each other quite well. She's a psychology. She has a psychology degree as well, and it aligns quite well with my values. So I think it'll be a really, really interesting part. So if you have any questions, fire them down in the comments or fire them directly to me on Instagram. That'd be really, really helpful. But just look, try to appreciate you are just human, and you can do this without burning out. But for now, guys, I'll leave it there. I'll see you in the next episode. Speak to you soon.